Okay, so next mission we're going to be working on is Dead Men Tell No Tales. What I want to notate in this one is the fact that when I jumped into the system, I saw one neutral, one war target. This gives me a pretty good idea that I might be ganked when I try and do this mission. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp to this, but before I do that I'm going to press and hold control, because when I do this this will make sure that the mission pops up towards the bottom of my selector in my overview. So I'm going to hit warp to location. That'll make it pop up here. So I can select it, stop in space, cloak up, and now I can warp to it at 20. So that way I don't decloak when I land if anyone tries to gank me. Again, like I was mentioning in the other mission, always remember faction warfare missions the beacon inside the mission now does decloak you when you're within 30 kilometers, and you cannot activate your cloak within 30 kilometers of the beacon. And if you're within 2k of a gate or any other item, then you would then be decloaked. So I warp to the gate, I'm scanning here, nothing is showing up. So on the outside of the plex you don't have to worry, I'm 9k away, that's still plenty of range. So I'm going to start slow boating in case anything was slow warping here, because it was a long warp from where I was. It's possible they may have had a long warp too, but that doesn't look the case, so I'm going to slide in. And again, this is the mission, Dead Men Tell No Tales. The goal of this mission is to kill the POS. This one is a lot easier than the other two where you have to kill the POS, which would be Uproot and Halt the Invasion. This one, the tank on the POS is very low, so it makes it easy. In this case, as long as you can use the T2 ammo, you want to load the T2 faction ammo, because that will help you apply the most damage. POS has a massive, I'm trying to think of what the term is, a massive radius, and the explosion radius of the T2 missiles will hit the whole thing. So what you want to do is you want to get into range. So my missiles hit out to 58 kilometers, or travel 58 kilometers. Due to the pathing of the missiles, you want to kind of take a couple kilometers off of that, just to assume that it's not going to go that full distance. So 54 should be enough. At this point I'm going to try and set a standard orbit. I don't want to let those NPCs get too close to me, because they can hurt. And some of the other spawn, like once the other rats spawn, there is one that scrams and one that newts, so it's a little bit dangerous. So again, we do have a lot of neutrals and a couple war targets in the system, so keep an eye on that D-scan. We want to keep a pretty decent orbit, keep it range. Try and pull as far away from the beacon as you can. So it's about 11 kilometers. That's still pretty dangerous. Someone could get a disruptor on me. I still want to keep my distance up. I accidentally pulled a little too far out of range, so I'm not sure if my missiles are going to hit on that last volley. And they never did. So you always want to try and be a little inside of your maximum range, because the missiles probably won't hit. 54 is probably fine. 56 might be fine too, but it's a little close. So this is the only target in the mission. Again, the NPCs don't really hurt that much in this one, since the first spawn is battleships. So there's the Malediction. Malediction, you want to be really careful, because the Malediction can hurt. It's very fast, and there's a Caracal too. So a lot of ships that can hurt, and the Malediction gets the point range bonus. So at this point I want to make sure I'm aligned out. I may try and... No, I won't be able to kill this mission. So I'm aligned out, and just to be safe I'm going to warp out ahead of time, because unfortunately I was too slow. If I hadn't missed those extra volleys, I probably would have been done with that mission and wouldn't have had to waste this time. So, time efficiency. Cloak up so that they don't know where you are, and you want to instantly bounce, because most NPC, or most most people who are trying to hunt farmers usually pay attention to where they warp off, because a stealth bomber isn't very fast and a malediction is, so they stand a pretty good chance of catching me if I'm a little slow. So, warping off to my safe, and then I'll bounce back to the mission. The other thing is, if you bounce off to a celestial or safe or something, your path, if they follow you to the gate, then when you're warping, if you warp straight back from the gate and they warp straight back from the gate, they're going to land on top of you. Now that I've come in from a separate angle, when I go back to warp to this plex, this mission, then they will not be on top of me. They may be close, but I will still have a little distance, and I can then use that time to warp off, line out, do whatever I need to. So now that I have my angle coming in differently from where I was, I'm going to come in at 20 again. We don't want to come in at 10 because 10 will instantly decloak me. So if anyone's waiting there, I'm done. 20 will put me about 9k. If you want to play safe, you probably want to come in at 30. That gives you plenty of range so that you're not right next to the gate. The Caracal and Malediction are not here. I wasn't paying attention to the name, which is pretty bad on my part. Pay attention to the name of people who gank you. That way you can keep track of who left system. So this time I'm slow boating back to the gate cloaked because, again, I was chased and there were two, a Caracal and a Malediction, so they could still be around. When they see me decloak, they may come back, and that's how I want to get into the gate as quickly as I can. Both war targets left system, so in all likelihood the Caracal was also a war target, and I don't need to be concerned. But we still have a neutral system, so I didn't get to see who the Caracal was, so I don't know. So, NPCs didn't move all that much, so I'm probably going to pick the same flight path, because going to the left would put the frigates closer to me, going to right puts them further away, so I'm going to burn out this way. Switch back to my PvP tab, hit scan, make sure nothing is coming. Waiting for me to get into a decent range to put these last couple shots on the tower. That should be close enough. Get back to the orbit that I want. Now I do have one more mission in this system, which we will go into next. And if you want to start aligning out when you know that last volley is going to kill it, you can do that. Just, again, a little more time efficiency. And now that it's dead, I'm going to warp off. Mission completed.